I went in the night gallery completely blind. I'd never seen a single episode before this video, and honestly I was expecting something closer to Creepshow. Big colors, camp, over-the-top morality tales. But what I found instead was something that feels way closer to the classic Twilight Zone from the 60s. Slower, moodier, more atmospheric, and a lot more serious than I expected. This is a great series from what I've seen so far, but with all that out of the way, let's get to the spooky stories. Our first story is titled The Sins of the Fathers from Season 1, Episode 21, originally airing on February 23, 1972. Our story opens on a silent candlelit vigil. Suddenly, the widow Creehill hears a servant returning on horseback. He tells her that because of the plague and a worsening famine, they can't get any more guests for the ceremony, and time is running out. The body must be laid to rest within 4 days of death. She instructs the servant to fetch the patriarch of the Evans family, offering him anything for his participation. The servant rides off into the foggy darkness. The servant arrives at the Evans home, deep in the bog. He knocks on the door, but the matriarch answers. She already knows why he's come. She tells him that her husband can't come. He's bedridden, sick with the plague, and starving from the famine. It is revealed that this isn't the first time the Evans family has been called upon. The patriarch is what's called a sin eater. She explains that all they want is for him to eat the dead man's sins so he can enter heaven, but only to be cast aside afterward, shunned until the next aristocrat needs his sins consumed. Desperate, she proposes a deal. If she can convince her husband to go, the servant agrees to let him ride the servant's horse there and back and promises he won't be cast out or pushed off the estate afterward. The servant reluctantly agrees. The Evans woman goes inside to check on her husband, but doesn't even bother waking him. He's too weak to ride to the ceremony. Instead, she sees their son, Ian, groaning from hunger pains in the corner. She tells him that an Evans is needed for the Creehill ceremony. She mentions a feast of food and gold, given to those willing to eat the sins of others. Ian recoils at the suggestion, saying he'd rather die of starvation than risk his soul by consuming the dead nobleman's sins and lock himself out of heaven. His mother claims it's just a superstition of the wealthy and would give them gold, which they could use to finally have food to eat. Ian is horrified by the image of eating from a dead man's chest, convinced he'll be damned for eternity, all for someone he never knew. She presses on with another plan, suggesting that he does not have to eat the food in the presence of the body. The ritual merely requires the appearance of eating, and if Ian stows the food away and brings it home, the sins remain behind and the food becomes theirs. He protests that everyone eats together and they will notice, but she instructs him to send everyone away, claiming solitude and purification are needed, and then fake eating as if he is feasting. If he cannot bring home food, at least they get the gold. Reluctantly, Ian agrees. His mother dresses him up in a shawl to hide his face, instructing him on how to fake the entire ritual. Ian leaves the comfort of his house to meet with the servant, and they head back to the Creole estate. The widow sees his face and dismisses him as a boy, not a sin eater. The servant insists that he is strong and maybe even stronger than his father. A young body might be more capable of bearing a lifetime of sins. The widowed woman reluctantly ushers Ian inside and lowers his hood, remarking that he is too thin and not nearly old enough to shoulder a man's sins. The servant insists that he must, claiming he is the sin eater. As Ian blurts out his hunger, he is brought before the corpse. He notices the food, but his stomach growls as his soul recoils. He is unable to look at the corpse and stares at the food, drooling at the feast laid out before him. The widow instructs him to begin, but Ian doesn't know the proper ritual words, so he howls and grunts. The group declares him a fraud and threatens to throw him out, but the widow admonishes them. She orders Ian to eat. As he approaches the food, his mother's words echo in his mind, instructing him not to eat a single crumb. Despite being hungry, Ian tries to obey and demands to eat alone. The other onlookers protest, insisting that the ritual requires witnesses. However, the widow silences them and permits Ian's request for solitude. She tells the others they will hear his cries, once the deed is done and the sins enter the young boy's soul. She leaves last, giving one final sorrowful look at Ian as she closes the door behind her. Ian stares at the corpse one more time before beginning to shove the food into his shawl. To sell the act, he makes loud eating noises, struggling to prevent himself from eating. Then, letting out a victorious scream, he flees from the hut. In his haste, he forgets the 3 gold coins on the table. The widow retrieves them and tosses them after him, but they uselessly clink on the ground as Ian vanishes into the foggy bog. Ian returns home and his mother carefully removes the food from his shawl, placing it on a plate and checking to make sure it's all there. Ian confirms he didn't eat a single crumb, and his mother tells him he can now eat. When he reaches for the food, his mother pulls it away and walks into his father's room. Ian pleads with her, reminding her that she promised the food was for him. With a calm expression, she replies that it is, and leads him into the room, where he sees his father lying dead in bed. Ian faints at the sight, understanding then that his mother's intention was not for him to eat the food himself, but to consume it next to his father's corpse, thereby ingesting the sins of a sin-eater. Ian refuses, knowing it's wrong for a son to shoulder his father's sins, let alone the sins his father had consumed over a lifetime. His mother holds him close, still trying to force him. Overwhelmed by hunger and despair, Ian finally succumbs and eats the food. The sins pass from father to son, and Ian lets out a tortured scream as the screen fades to black. This segment originally aired on February 23rd, 1972, as part of Season 2. The script was credited to Halstead Wells, based on a story by Christiana Brand and directed by Jeanette Swark. Despite common assumptions, Rod Serling did not write or direct this episode. The cast includes Richard Thomas, Geraldine Page, and Michael Dunn, their performances anchoring much of the story's weight. Many viewers recognize Richard Thomas as John Boy Walton from The Waltons, making his appearance here especially striking. This episode marks an early step in Thomas's horror journey, and it wouldn't be his last. Years later, he would return to the genre as the adult Bill Denbrough in the 1990 TV miniseries adaptation of Stephen King's It, a production so seamless many still recall it as one long movie spread over 2 VHS tapes. This story draws from the historical practice of being a sin-eater, a real folk ritual once found in parts of Britain in which a person symbolically consumed the sins of the dead, so the deceased could enter the afterlife at peace. Set against a grim medieval backdrop of famine and the Black Plague, the episode relies not on monsters or spectacle, but on moral weight, psychological dread, and a fog-soaked atmosphere. Often compared to the Twilight Zone for its ethical themes, its power comes from strong performances and deeply unsettling ideas. Overall, it's a great story that you can really sink your teeth into. The way the story's structured, it seems like it's something that could have really happened, and that's what makes it disturbing. The young man's future and soul are offered as a penance for his father's sins, orchestrated by his own mother, turning the 2 people meant to protect and love him into the very instruments of his soul's damnation. Our second story is titled They're Tearing Down Tim Riley's Bar, from Season 1, Episode 6, originally airing on January 20th, 1971. Our story begins inside the offices of Pritkin Plastic Products. A man named Harvey asks the receptionist about the whereabouts of Randy Lane. Lynn, the receptionist, tells Harvey that Randy has had numerous meetings that day and has been out of the office most of the time. Harvey jokes that those appointments probably include a few martinis. Pritkin overhears the exchange and asks when Randy will be back. They're about to close a big deal. Harvey flatters Pritkin, insisting he has all the information already. Pritkin says Randy was supposed to handle the deal. Harvey claims he's effectively taken over and has all the reports on his desk, then leaves to retrieve them. Pritkin turns to Lynn and asks where Randy is now and when to expect him back. Lynn hesitates. She doesn't know. Sensing something's off, Pritkin instructs that Randy be sent to his office the moment he returns, then walks back to his office with Harvey. Lynn calls after him, reminding him that Randy has been with the company for many years. In fact, today marks his 25th anniversary. After Pritkin leaves, Lynn enters Randy's office and makes a phone call to track him down, only for Randy to return at that moment, tossing off his hat and launching into a joking sales pitch. She tells him it's after 3 p.m. Randy laughs and reflects on his long service. If 25 years at the same job don't entitle him to a little sauce, what was the point of coming home after the Korean War? Randy asks what's going on. Lynn explains that Pricken came by looking for the big contract information, but Randy was away, so Harvey provided it. Randy scoffs, calling Harvey a brown noser who always seems to be Johnny on the spot. He seems at ease with his modest place in life, then reveals where he spent the last hour, outside Tim Riley's bar. Lynn seems unfamiliar with the place. Randy wanders down memory lane. The bar to him is more than wood and bottles. It's a relic of what he considers a now lost slice of old-fashioned America. Back then, beer was a nickel. The jukebox played full records for a dime. It reminded him of summer nights in his youth, before the world changed. Now, the bar is being bought out, destined to become a modern architectural marvel. In less than a year, Randy fears, no one will remember Tim Riley's, or that it was one of the best bars a man could ask for. He says to most people it's just a bar, but to him, it's a part of his life. If they tear it down, he loses something real, something tied to memories, youth, and meaning. Harvey interrupts his reverie, stepping in with a fake smile and asking how his long lunch was. Randy, knowing exactly what Harvey is, flips him a sardonic dandy. Harvey tries to save face, boasting that he handed the contract report directly to Pricken, and even rewrote the sales pitch on the fly. Randy fires back, calling Harvey brash and flashy, a con artist collecting a weekly paycheck. Just then, Pricken storms in, interrupting Randy's tirade in the middle of a swearing down. He asks if this is a private insult, or if he can step in. Pricken begins dressing down Randy instead, pointing out that in this business, it's not about years of service but consistency. Randy jokes that sure, loyalty means nothing anymore. It's what you've done lately that counts. With little patience left, Pricken declares that Randy's performance has been in the toilet lately. His attitude, he says, is as lackluster as his sales records. Then, with finality, he demotes him to a co-director with Harvey, making it so that from now on, they both report directly to him. Pricken walks to the door, congratulating Randy on his 25 years with the company. He glances at Harvey and says he hopes the next 25 years will be bigger and brighter. Then he leaves. When Lynn returns and asks if he's alright, Randy replies he's fine, though he'd rather have had a good brawl than this hollow victory. Lynn offers to make him dinner, saying that on a milestone like this, a man shouldn't have to spend the evening alone. Randy politely declines, calling himself lousy company. As she leaves, he stops her, tells her she's a good lady. She smiles, saying she works for a good man. It's clear at this point that Randy is decent, but he's broken and exhausted. Later, Randy returns to Tim Riley's bar. He stands outside, staring at the signs plastered all over the front, proclaiming the building will soon be demolished. A police officer approaches and tells him the place is closed. Randy smirks. The officer says his first arrest as a cop took place inside that bar. It marked a turning point in his career. Randy says something more personal. The first date he ever had with his wife took place there too. He continues. When he first returned from the war, his friends threw him a surprise welcome back party there. His train had been late. He walked in to find all his friends drunk, and his father passed out in the corner. The cop jokes that he used to sit with Randy's father while he drank. Every day on shift, he'd stop by to see him taking a beer. The cop laughs that the old man must have knocked back a few kegs in his time. It's obvious Randy and this policeman share history, not just with each other, but with that now defunct bar. The two walk down memory lane, then part ways. As Randy turns to leave, he thinks he hears people singing inside the closed bar. He wipes away some grime from the window and glimpses a crowd inside, with a big welcome home sign above the bar. He rushes to the door to join them, only to find it locked. He peers through the glass and sees the interior dusty, run down, abandoned. Confused and a little broken, he walks away with more weight on his shoulders than before. The next day, Lynn is told she's being reassigned, now Harvey's receptionist. She goes into Randy's office. Randy tells her he's sadder about it than she is. He thanks her for everything she's done, and he quietly hopes that if he had a say in it, she'd still be with him, maybe even get a raise. But he has no say. He glances at her, telling her he's already seen the writing on the wall. Suddenly, Randy hears singing again. He rushes from his office, only to find that the outside appears to have transformed. The building around him feels like it's traveled back in time to 1945. his first day with the company. Pritkin even appears as a younger man, cheerful and enthusiastic about Randy's hiring. The receptionist from that day tells him his wife is on the phone and wants to speak. Randy rushes back to his old office to answer, only for the voice on the other end to belong to Lynn. Confused, he hangs up. Lynn walks in and asks if he's okay. He says he's fine, turns his back to her. Later, Randy breaks into Tim Riley's bar. He's drunk, stumbling, loudly singing to himself. Two cops walk in to find him skipping a jig. They joke that he must be the night watchman. Randy laughs and drunkenly claims he outranks every night watchman in the world. He declares he just returned from the war and is having a drink for a job well done. The cops play along, inviting him to celebrate. Randy bellows that he can't leave. The real party is just getting started. He claims that Tim Riley himself will be arriving soon to play the piano, while his father sings his favorite song. The cops threaten him, but the cop from earlier intervenes, saying he'll handle the situation. The two share a heavy heart-to-heart. Randy confides in his friend that he's being haunted by memories, that every now and then he's yanked back to 1945. He admits he wishes the ghosts would stay, that maybe they're the only friends he has left. Randy breaks down. A man who served his country, came home, lost everyone he ever loved, and spent 25 years serving a company that now treats him like garbage. A man who's being replaced not for what he lacks, but for what he becomes. Human. He can't keep drowning in nostalgia and hurt. Not again. The cop friend offers him a ride home. Randy visits his old house. Hearing his wife calling to him, he runs to the front door and opens it, only to find himself suddenly in a hospital instead. He's reliving the night his wife died. A doctor informs him she succumbed to pneumonia. We cut to the next morning. Lynn tries to contact Randy. Harvey says Randy's in the drunk tank, and even made the newspaper for his antics. Harvey relays the news to Pritkin with a smug smile. Pritkin tells Lynn, when Randy gets out, he wants to see him immediately. Randy arrives. He and Lynn talk, but their conversation is cut short when Pritkin calls the office phone. Their words are few, but enough. When Randy hangs up, he knows he's fired. Randy gives Lynn a heartfelt goodbye and leaves. Lynn storms into Pritkin's office, tears in her eyes. She spits venom and vigor, yelling that Randy spent 25 faithful years serving him in the company and didn't even receive a cheap watch. He didn't even earn a few good words of gratitude. Pritkin turns away, looking at her with faint disgust and regret. Randy runs down to Tim Riley's bar one last time. The construction crew is busy. Workers move about like ants in an anthill. Randy grabs one of them by the shoulder, and suddenly he's transported back to a better time. He imagines himself in the arms of his wife singing, "He's a jolly good fellow." The ghosts fade when jackhammers start pounding outside. They try to warn him the bar is being torn down. Randy pleads. This is the best part of his life, but one by one they vanish. Even his wife disappears. A construction worker yells at him to get out, and that he's in the way of their working zone. Randy, defeated, staggers out. He walks the cold streets, soaked in sweat and sorrow. Then he hears singing nearby. Drawn to the sound, he enters a nearby bar, only to be met by his co-workers, lifting their glasses and cheering for him. Mr. Pritkin steps forward. He delivers a speech about Randy's years of service, saying he regrets that Randy never got the recognition he deserved. As he speaks, the wrecking ball connects with Tim Riley's bar and sends debris flying. The crowd embraces Randy. They cheer. Tim Riley's bar is knocked down, but for Randy, it no longer matters, because he's found a new bar, a new place to belong, with new friends and reasons to celebrate. When it comes to the episode, they're tearing down Tim Riley's bar. It isn't just a story about a place. It's about the heart and soul we pour into the things, places, and people we love, and the memories that make them irreplaceable. It's a story that hits close to home because at some point in our lives, we've all faced the loss of something that seemed to mean everything to us. Night Gallery captures that feeling beautifully, reminding us that even as places and times change, the connections we've made and the love we've shared stay with us. I know most of you love the doom and gloom of Tales from the Crypt or the big twist endings of Creepshow, but personally, I love a good story. Anytime a story can make you feel is a big plus. It's times like this I'm glad to check out the series you guys recommend. Let me know in the comments which other Night Gallery episodes you'd like me to cover. That's all I have for you in this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and a special thank you to our channel members. Take care, have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one.